afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Lord Ebo Reese Hards, and we're chilling here in Miami. We're doing a segment on IZ Corp Exchange Television now on the Hejspan, which is our hedge fund group that researches and develops hedge funds globally. So they're a member of the IZ Corp Exchange, and this is Hejspan TV. Not IZ Corp Exchange TV, this is Hejspan TV. So what we're doing is we're doing a segment and we're doing some research on a fund on the exchange called the Swindle Investment. And what they do is they investment, they do a lot of railroads. And I got a glimpse of their portfolio. So I'm kind of getting ahead of the game here. We got a glimpse of the portfolio and they were doing things with CSX and a couple of good things, and they looked really good. They were profitable over the years. Now they're making their disclosures and trying to getting responses on a BPM request. So the family offices division is really interested in that. And the Swindle Investments has a manager. I think they're in New York and Chicago. And they railroads and a couple of other things, but we were just looking at the stocks that they were looking at and the companies they were looking at on the exchange as a not just a courtesy request, but just as research for and development for the exchange. My name's Lord Ebo Reese Hards, and we're on Hejspan TV, so we try to get feedback from the market on transportation. You know, what can the rail system do, and how beneficial, who is it benefiting? Because, you know, a lot of times investors come and they're ready to do things, but they're just not quite sure, because, you know, sometimes you want your investments to favor the community and the people in it, you know, and that's the transportation. But then a lot of big industrial companies and actually the economy in general focuses more on transporting goods and services through the railroads more than passengers. You know, the passengers linked to the buses. Matter of fact, here's one right here. And there's construction in the area. So we're considering all of that, because this is a railway here that's been under some infrastructure. And the investors, you know, the companies access they've been asking also some of our research companies involved in the exchange that are in good standings to do outstanding research on data and stuff just on railroads. But as far as Hejspan goes, their affiliates and co-sponsors on the exchange are doing research more in the community as far as how it's going to benefit the economy in general, versus the Swindle Investment Company that's just, well, you know, we don't, you know, it doesn't like disclose exactly what their end game is. You know, they invest in railroads, but you know what kind of people are coming to them, or what kind of people are they bringing to us, and how is it benefiting the community? And you know, as family offices, when you're dealing with family office, especially the database on the database side, which is day in and day out. Sometimes I look at some people and I don't know how they have time for anything else. So you look at the databases and you cross-reference them with, you know, investors that are profitable and that make good decisions, and you see where you can go from there if you even want to court them or anything. But dealing with the family office, you know, most of the time, funds are as being liquidated will go into charities and give back into the community, even as it gives enough time for the you know, the entity to survive. They usually give more than half of what they're worth or what their earnings are or what they have in assets to charities and communities and governments. And that's really what it's all about. So that's why as the corporate exchange is really very happy to be, involved in the database, and I mean in the family office investment, world community, because it benefit. They really, not only that, you can see they go out of their way. It's an expensive business, and it's tedious work. It's like, but you can see the people are so good. The people are so great. You're more than happy to back an investor and back in a company that's dealing with them, because they structure the obligation to the service providers, which we also try to negotiate as third-party administrators. So what happens is they come in and they do the work for them, but just on the decision making, you have the owners, the founders, the curators, the caretakers, and everybody's involved, family members, and it's a lot of times they're gut-wrenching decisions on just to do it simple things, not even about money. So you always have to deal with that. But you see how hard and how dedicated people are into giving and charities and communities and stuff like that. And that's what, drives a lot of business. And it also drives a lot of investments for, future innovation and, the way people think and help each other out. And look forward to building communities, for a safer society, safe and secure society. That's really what it's all about. So as we're looking at the Hejspan television, what they're doing is they're coming in and they're trying to, you see a lot of industries, and not just big money industries, but you see a lot of industries, and not really on the finance, but you see they come in, and more often than not, they're gonna, just want to be profitable. And when that happens, sometimes the quality of service is negotiated or compromised, and you want to make sure that doesn't happen, because not just because you're dealing with a lot of money, because the causes, you don't want to, it's not like, well, you're going to do something bad or something bad is you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to get into a position that's, uncomfortable for you, your investments, and the way you look. A lot of times with the Hejspan, you're dealing with big time things, and you don't always get up close and personal with the individuals and the business people. You're more focused on what they're doing to help the hedge fund community better society, and then the IZ Corp Exchange recognizes that, and that makes the business better. It makes everybody, because they have a lot of backing into investments into communities, and they really help people, and like you said, they go out of their way. So on the Hejspan side, you can subscribe to the newsletters at Hejspan.com. You can go on the Google, on the Shubi, and you can look at that. That's the new search engine on the IZ Corp Exchange. But on the Hejspan, you can get that, and you can also, if you're in the business, or you have a business, or you want to look into expanding your business through growth, and not just saying, well, community, just in community investments, but investments that just make the quality of life, enriches and enhances the quality of life in communities globally. Because it's not like a faith thing, but through hedge funds, you deal with all this money, you deal with all these great people, and often and more, you come in and you say, what everybody's always like, what more can they do? Even when things are bad, and they're in knife fights, their managers and their teams and their staffs, especially the ones I've come in contact with or encountered on the IZ Corp Exchange as members in good standings, they don't make excuses as like, oh, this didn't happen because of this. They always meet their quotas. They always try to find ways to give more to the community. and with nothing in return. You know, it's just an investment either way, but you're investing in something that you believe in, that it's not a consensus. Like, everybody knows it's good. You know, it's just all good. You know, as we say in the street, you say it's all good. It's like that. It's all good. So Hejspan is doing a follow-up, and we were looking at the Swindle investments, and it's a fine company on the exchange. They're just coming out, and they're doing everything the right way as well. But you know, the investors, and sometimes, you know, we have a lot of blogs and a lot of conversations going, and we also look at a lot of court reports and deal makings and mergers and acquisitions. And you know, a lot of times companies come in and they're on the exchange and they're in the Hejspan network and they do everything into it, but then, you know, this quarter they're just relaxing, making their usual thing, and the next quarter 1 or 2 investors come in and their whole ideology change. You see the fund, they might pick up more people, you know, they might reinvest more money into the funds and the investments they're making. And sometimes, to make things really good, they go out and buy and get more investments. But you never know day to day, and not everyone wants to dissolve and liquidate and start over if you don't have to, because Hejspan will also show you in the newsletters and the commentaries the regulation that's focused on the exchanges and that comes through the markets to make the organization stronger. My name's Lord Ibo Risi Hards. You're watching Hejspan Television, and thank you. And we was focusing on Swindle investment and a census on the exchange on whether what kind of investments that they are. Now again, this doesn't make this a bad investment. You know, most likely their track record is so good that they're profitable. So if they come into railways in this part of the country, and we go into the Rallison and Cunt rating agency and put them on the grid as a Swindle investment, you can also do that contacting the Rallison and Co. Get free alerts and learn more about businesses and companies, not just on the big ones in the exchange, because those are mainstream, but that's not all the money that goes into it. You know, there's a lot of not mom and pops, but smaller companies that don't get recognized, that contribute a lot to the industry. And you know, it's not to make the investment bad, but just investors are just looking in this part, and they're coming and spending their time and their money and their effort to make to find out more about this company and who the investments and what the outlook of the money they're putting in is. Again, my name is Lord Ibo Risi Hards. You're watching Hejspan Television. Thank you and have a great day.